Are you wondering what our 1-week vacation in Washington, D.C. for a family of 4 cost in the year 2025? In this video, I'm going to show you everything that we spent on our trip down to the last cent. At the end of this video, I'll break down all of the costs into categories as well. Finally, I'll show you our true costs after discounts. Okay, for those who haven't watched the last few videos, we spent spring break 2025 in National Harbor, Maryland, so that we could see more of Washington, D.C. If that doesn't make sense, stick around to the end and it will. Let's get into it. Day 1. We drove from Walhalla, South Carolina to Charlotte, North Carolina. We stopped one time for snacks. We stayed at the Hilton Garden Inn near the airport in Charlotte. Got another snack there. Then we ate dinner at the Hilton. We bought snacks for the morning for the kids. Total for the day, $371.63. Day 2. We ate breakfast at the airport lounge. We bought waters and snacks for the flight. Then we bought even more snacks because the girls didn't like what the boys bought. We flew from Charlotte, North Carolina to Washington, D.C. We rented a car at Reagan National Airport. We rented a booster seat for the rental car. We paid for parking at Pentagon City. We ate lunch at Epic Smokehouse. We paid for parking at the National Zoo. We bought ice cream at the zoo. We grabbed some snacks and bottled water on the way to National Harbor. We checked into Wyndham in National Harbor. We paid for parking at Wyndham. We ate dinner at the Irish Whisper. Then we bought breakfast groceries for the week at CVS downstairs in our building. Grand total for today, $3,083.63. Holy moly. Day 3. We bought more bottled water at CVS. We paid for parking at the Hilton Alexandria Old Town. We bought 4 WMATA day passes. We ate lunch at the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. We bought souvenirs at the Smithsonian. We grabbed a couple of beers at the Brass Tap. We got coffee and more breakfast supplies at CVS. We ate dinner and cookies at Meza. I don't know how you say it. It was freaking delicious. Then we bought some kid meds at CVS for a daily total of $342.46. Day 4. We paid for parking again in D.C. We bought 2 moon pies at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. We ate lunch at the West Wing Cafe. Very good. We had triple beers at the Brass Tap. We got Tide Pods and eggs at CVS. Then we ate the most expensive Mexican dinner we've ever had at Rosa Mexicana. Then we grabbed dessert and a couple of more beers at the Brass Tap. Total for day 4, $389.25. Day 5. We bought breakfast snacks for the monsters. We paid for parking at L'Enfant Plaza. Got an Uber to the National Archives. Ate lunch at Panda Express in L'Enfant Plaza. Went to the International Spy Museum. We bought a souvenir at Abe's Gifts. We had dinner at the Brass Tap. And then triple beers again at the Brass Tap. Total for today, $369.23. Day 6. We filled up the rental car with gas, had Chick-fil-A breakfast at Reagan National Airport, had a couple of beers and an OJ before the flight. That was actually a fun time for me in Austin. Paid for parking at the airport in Charlotte, ate lunch at Cabo Fish Taco. We bought gas for our car, bought water and snacks, checked into the Great Wolf Lodge. Then we paid for parking at the Great Wolf Lodge. Total for today, $719.46. Day 7. We paid for the extras at Great Wolf Lodge from the little bracelets. We ate lunch at Thai Basil in Spartanburg, and we had snacks at Dunkin' Donuts on the way home. Total for today, $309.91. Wow, we spent some money. Now, I know what you're thinking. You guys are crazy for spending that kind of money. If our actual out-of-pocket expenses were that much, I would totally agree with you. But do you remember when I said, finally, I'll show you our true costs after discounts? Well, here's that part of the video. We have several credit cards that accumulate miles or points. We don't advocate for people with debt to use credit cards at all. That said, if you are in control of your finances, you're debt-free, credit cards can be leveraged for some pretty big benefits, cash, points, miles, a lot of different things. On this trip, the following items were paid for with points. The AirPoint Lounge we got through Priority Pass, which is through our Capital One Venture X card. One night at the Hilton Garden Inn in Charlotte was paid for with points. The flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Washington, D.C. paid for with points. The rental car in Washington, D.C. paid for with points. And one night at Great Wolf Lodge in Concord, basically Charlotte, North Carolina, paid for with points. That saved us just over $1,200. But that's not all. Remember that place we stayed in National Harbor and how expensive it was? That was gifted to us by my mom, Nana. This saved us over $1,800. That's right. This means that our total out-of-pocket expense for this whole week in Washington, D.C. was $2,276.81. Friend, this is much more closely aligned to what the Davis family would spend on an average vacation. Also, doing this little wrap-up told me I really need to start saying no to a couple of beers every time there's an opportunity to have a couple of beers. So that's what a typical American family might spend on a one-week vacation in Washington, D.C. If you've been following us for a while, you know that this is much more than we normally spend for 1 week anywhere, basically. We tried to act as American as possible on this trip. We definitely don't spend like this on a day-to-day basis. Okay, fun fact time. I'm going to have to look at my notes a few times, so bear with me. The median household income in the United States is $80,610, according to the most recent census data. That means that this one trip, 1 week in Washington, D.C., would have accounted for 6.6% of the average family's annual income before taxes. This would likely be just over 8% of that same family's take-home pay. So let that sink in. That's 1/12 of their income for the year. If you're living with non-mortgage debt, credit cards, student loans, other things, personal loans, this is an irresponsible amount of money to spend on vacations. Yet American families do this every year. Now it's time for some perspective. This vacation cost us roughly what we would have spent for 6 weeks in Bangkok, Phuket, or Ho Chi Minh City. The amount we spent this week would have covered us for 8 weeks, or nearly 2 months, in Chiang Mai, Jomtien Beach, Penang, Kuala Lumpur, Langkawi, or Manila. And don't even get me started on how much $5,585 would go in Da Nang, Vietnam, or Leyte, Philippines. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. Comment down below with what you want to see next from us, and go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more from us.